Welcome everyone. Today we are covering a big event that's happening for us in our real estate company next week. We are officially ripping off the Band-Aid. Definitely scared, kind of anxious, kind of nervous, but we are officially ripping off the Band-Aid, taking all the hairs with it, whatever it gets, and hiring a property management company next week to finally manage our portfolio of rental properties. It's a long time coming. We've been self-managing for 3 years, just about at this point. So we've saved a lot of money doing that. However, it's pretty much at the tipping point where it's just taking up so much of our time, and we think our time is better spent just doing other things and trying to acquire more properties and trying to continue to build that portfolio. So that leads us to this. Today we are covering the 39 questions I asked when hiring and vetting and interviewing property management companies. This is from a ton of research I did. I started by just looking at FAQs on websites of different companies. I didn't really know where to start. So what I recommend if you're an investor and you have one property or a couple of properties and you're looking to hire property management, start by pulling some of the top recommended that you can find online, the top companies. So for example, I took the 10 top organic property management companies from a market that came up on Google search, as well as the top 10 that came up on Yelp. Cross-reference them. There were a few that were on both top 10s, which was a good sign, and we noted that. But I would start there, build your list, and then maybe in addition to that, a few referrals from friends if your friends know of any, or if you just have seen signs around your market or around town a lot of a particular property management company or two. Worth it to call them as well, just to see what they have going on if they didn't come up online and don't have an online presence. So I would start there. I did this all this past week, and I was able to dwindle it down to 17 total property management companies. And I asked them all these 39 questions. Well, the ones that answered, not all of them called me back. And obviously, they're not on the list for potentially getting hired next week. But we will review the 39 questions. I'll dive deeper into certain ones that are questions I dug deeper into when on the phone with them that I think are really important to note based on what I heard back, the data, just so it can help you guys and you don't get tripped up along the way. And you make sure you find out every bit of information possible to know if this property management company is right for you. You know, it's like they're all different. Some property management companies are huge. They manage 3,000, 5,000 units. Some are the opposite, and some manage 50 units. So you can see the whole spectrum in terms of how much they're dealing with now, how long they've been in business, their systems. But these are the questions that we thought were important that helped us make the decision. We still haven't decided, but there's like 2 left that we have to have second follow-up calls with next week. Anyway, start here, and I think you'll do okay for the most part. So question number 1. Is there a startup administration fee to hire you? This will not be the case for all property management companies. But ask that. You want to know, is it $100? Is it $300? That's the range that we saw. But some, it is $0 to start up, which is kind of nice. So it'll depend on the property management company. And obviously, second question, follow up to that. If it's a yes, what is the amount? You'll want to know that before getting into any kind of agreement with a company. Question number 3, and this is what we'll dig into a little bit more, and it's an important one. What is the monthly management fee per unit to manage the real estate that you have? So this is going to vary totally dependent on each property management company, right? Some will charge a flat percentage, meaning a percentage that does not change. It's 7% per unit, no matter if you own 1 unit, 20 units, no matter where they are in the city, in your market. That's one way of doing it. The second way, and there's 3 total ways, the second way is a flat dollar amount. So that can mean, all right, for every unit you have, we will charge you $75 a unit versus a percentage of the rent. That can also vary, and some will charge more, some will charge less. A third way that we saw that was kind of, we weren't expecting at first, but I'm glad we kind of caught on to it, was certain property management companies will offer a lower interest management fee, monthly management fee per unit. So say they offer 6%, but then from there, they will also add in, it will be 6% per unit or $80, whichever is highest. So if you own rentals that have smaller amount of rent, like $600 a month, $700 a month, the $75 is actually going to be higher than the 6% against that total rent per month. So just look out for that. Some have minimums in terms of their management fees. So keep an eye out. But what we found was anywhere from 5% to 10% was the percentage if the company did it that way. So lots of variables there and variations that you can see. But make sure to ask all those questions so you know what you're getting into. Question number 4, what is the cost to fill a vacant unit? The majority of them for us that we found was just 1 month's rent for our market. Do you charge a lease renewal fee? So even if the tenant stays there, like say you've had a tenant for 12 months and they renew and they stay for another 12 months, what's the cost to to renew their lease? Some property management companies, it's zero, but not many. I'll admit, unfortunately, it sounds a little silly, but I guess there's some work that goes into it. You know, they have to refile the contracts. They probably go back to you and ask, do you want them to stay? Do you want to raise the rent? And then contact the tenant as well. But for this, we found that it was anywhere from $100 to $300 for a lease renewal fee, and you can expect to pay that once every 12 months or as long as your leases are. This follow-up question to that, question number 6, how much is it? And then 7th, and this sums up the questions about the costs of property management, is what is the upcharge amount on maintenance visits? This one's important too. So when the toilet breaks and the property management company needs to deal with it, they may have in-house contractors, they may have preferred vendors that they work with, but they're sending someone there to fix it, right? The majority of property management companies do upcharge that total cost. So if it costs $100 to send a plumber out to fix a toilet, more than likely they're going to charge you between 10 and 20% extra on top of that. That's just how it works. That was the average that we found too, after calling 17 property management companies, was between 10 and 20% on top of the total cost of the maintenance visit. Certain ones, and this is the important thing to dovetail off this question, make sure that they send you the official invoice, like the actual invoice that they get from the contractor or plumber, whoever it is, in addition to any upcharges that they do. Some property management companies may say that they don't charge for it, but there may be some back-end payments. I'm not really sure how that would work fully, but maybe it's like an in-house contractor and they work out something, or who really knows. But better just have it all documented. And I felt better, at least, when property management companies would tell me upfront, hey, we do charge 20% upcharge on the maintenance, and we tell you about it. And we document it and show you. That made me feel better, because at least I know they were being upfront, right? 10-second sponsor break. Just kidding, this is not a sponsor, but this is what's getting me through this. So since I'm not an official fancy YouTuber, I don't know how to do all the cool edits. I would, with all the numbers and the questions popping up, but instead, we have double shot espresso from Starbucks getting us through this one. All right. Next section, tenant communication. How are they communicating with your beautiful tenants that you've loved and adored and worked with closely up until this point? First question number 8, how do tenants contact you, the property management, for a maintenance request? How does that work? Question number 9, is there someone available to speak to 24/7? Across the board, from what I found, there is. Some have an emergency line if it's after hours, but it seems like most companies are moving towards this where they do have someone 24/7, but make sure that they do, because that's important just in case, you know. What is the preferred mode of communication between you and the tenant? So, for example, is it texting? Is it calling? Emails? Online portal submission? How do tenants communicate with you, and what's the preferred way of doing that? Those are the next 2. Question number 12, how soon do you, property management company that we are about to pay lots of money, how do you respond to them, the tenants? How soon does that happen? A minute, 10 minutes, an hour? How fast do you get back to them? 24 hours? That kind of varied, and you want to ask that firmly when you talk to property management companies to really see what they're going to say. Question number 13, if a tenant is late on rent, how do you handle that? Leave it open-ended, ask it like that. How do you handle that? And see what they have to say. And then going off of that, how do you attempt to gather rent if it's late? How do you contact the tenant? What's that process look like? All right, next section, and this one's about just managing the property itself and what goes into that. So, question number 15, do you provide your own in-house leases that we can use? So oftentimes it seems like many of the property management companies, they'll want to come in, take over the the whole service of managing the property and also use their own leases. So just talk about that, and if you have particular things in your lease that you want in their lease, make sure that happens. What specifically do you do to fill a vacant unit? That kind of puts them on the spot, and then that's their chance to shine in terms of showing off and highlighting their services with that question and answer. And then how involved, in terms of that, how involved at all are you, the landlord, or am I, in selecting or approving tenants, new tenants? Because, and that, to my follow-up question to this, if you fill a unit and the tenant needs to immediately be evicted, do I still have to pay again for a new lease renewal fee and a new filling of a unit fee? You know, that's a whole month's rent again if you bring in a crummy tenant and then you have to evict them the next month, and then I have to pay again to get it filled again. That makes no sense to me, at least. So some property management companies are starting to either do warranties, like tenant warranties, what they're calling it, and they do it for 6 months. I've seen that, as well as they're just including you and involving you in the final say of the tenant, so that if the tenant does suck, it's kind of your fault too. So you got some skin in the game and some say in it, at least. Question number 19, do you handle the eviction process if needed? That's important to know. Is there a charge for that? And do you do monthly or quarterly site visits to the property? That's a good one, and a good one to ask, because some don't unless you tell them to. Some will charge, some won't charge. If you have properties that you think might spring leaks here and there, or might need more attending to, it's important to have them check in like that. All right, we are going to buzz through the rest of these. So, what is the process like when a repair needs to get fixed? Do you contact me if the repair costs a certain amount? Like if it's above $300, do you contact me before you do it and get my approval before you repair that repair? What is the amount? What is that threshold? Do you use in-house contractors for repairs, or do you work with preferred vendors? Tell me about that. How does it work? And if I want to, can I use my own contractors? All right, last set of questions, and this is about managing money. We're gonna blaze through them. How do you bill me for repairs completed on the property? How do I find out if it's below 300? You know, do you tell me once a month when you pay my rent? How is that tracked, right? How is that deducted? How do I pay for that? Does it come out of the rent? Do I pay for it out of pocket? How's it all work? Do you provide any financial reports to show me how the property is doing in general? Some property management companies that I found did do this, and it was pretty cool. Definitely a plus and a bonus. What ways can tenants pay the rent? Is there a preferred method? What day of the month is the rent getting collected? What day do I get paid? That's also incredibly important, of course, because you have to pay your mortgage company if you have a mortgage on it. How long, before that, actually, very important question. Do I need to sign a contract? Almost every property management company I talked to out of 17, yes, there was a contract. How long is a contract? Majority of them were 12 months. What if I need to cancel the contract? How much notice do you need? Can I cancel for any reason? Is there a cancellation fee if I cancel the contract? And those are the 39 questions to ask when you are interviewing property management companies and getting ready to hire. I'm going to wrap this thing up because this was way too long. Tried to make it quick. However, if you want the list, the checklist, it's a downloadable PDF. Go to the go to the detailed information below the video. Click the website link, and then you can download it for free off of our website. Thanks. Good luck hiring.